Hello and welcome back to the Genesis Designs and Modelcraft bench, here with another quick inbox review. I'm really spoiling you with these lately, and this time we're looking at the Dora Wings 1/48 scale Curtiss Wright AT-9 Jeep. Now, those of you who watched the recent one that I did on the Lockheed Vega from the same manufacturer might recall that I mentioned the Curtiss Jeep in that review because it's such an obscure type, and I reckon it's fair to say that a lot of people will never have heard of this thing, and I would count myself among them were it not for the fact that I'd built a 72nd one as a commission for a guy a few years back, and at the time I was struck by what a handsome little aircraft it was. And here we are now with Dora Wings having just released a 48th one. So the Jeep then, obviously Curtiss Wright, we know who they are. This was developed early years of the Second World War to provide a high performance twin engine training platform, and it was deliberately designed to be difficult to fly because that helped trainee pilots develop the necessary skills to be able to go on and fly things like the B-26 Marauder or P-38 Lightning, high performance twin engine aircraft. And because of that innate instability and difficulty, it was never offered post-war for sale to civilians, so it's a pretty rare aeroplane. There are only two remaining surviving examples, one of which is restored and on display at the National Museum of the United States Air Force, which is in Dayton, Ohio. The second is it's basically just a recovered bunch of wreckage. It's not a complete aircraft and it's not in one piece, but that currently resides at the Pima Air and Space Museum. So it's not an easy thing to get to have a look at. I will include a photograph of a real one at some point during this video, or the only complete real one. Anyway, here we go. This is Dora Wings again. It's got that same shiny artwork, which I do think is quite cute. And let's have a quick look at what you get in the box. And it's quite a stuffed little box, this one. Let's get everything out. Super crinkly, peely, sticky bag. And here we go with the parts. Now it's moulded in a really good, cool colour. It's kind of like a brownish grey. And the first thing you can hopefully start to realise is that this really isn't a big aeroplane. It is twin engine, yes, but they're quite low power radials. It's not a big aeroplane at all. If I just grab the Spitfire, I really should have finished by now for comparison. You see, not much bigger than a single engine fighter, but packing two engines and this lovely sleek shape. No internal detail moulded here, but there's a reason for that. And your instrument panel has some quite nice dial detail moulded in as it comes. You can pick out with a paintbrush or deal with in some other way. Here we've got a double sprue. We've got two of the same one. Dealing with the engines, logically enough. So you've got wheelbase detail there, the nacelles, or the cowlings I should say really, propellers, exhaust parts, intakes, wheels in two halves. It's some very subtle tread detail moulded on, and the engines themselves. Nice radial engines with push rods, manifolds, etc, etc. Nicely done, I think you'll agree. Really nice finesse here, very, very crisp for what this is, and a decent amount of detail moulded in. It's not staggeringly detailed, but it's certainly detailed enough for government work. This one, a myriad of small pieces, obviously. Crew seats, internal parts, glare shield, undercarriage legs, and other struts for the undercarriage. A lot of very small parts. Now, I'm going to bring this up to show you the control wheels, and the finesse of this moulding. These parts are so small, so fine. Really very impressive. That's some tangled up ones. Back to the bigger stuff. got control surfaces here, tail planes, your cockpit floor and bulkheads, and this is why there's no internal detail, because there's a couple of little half shells, not heroic unfortunately, but half shells which fit into those recesses of the in the fuselage halves to give you that little bit of interior detail. And finally the wings. Full span lower, complete with, sets the dihedral nicely, and all the fairings are nicely moulded, so hopefully if this fits well fore and aft, should be, you know, it simplifies the fitting of this area quite nicely. Very, very smooth mouldings these, really, really nice finish on them. Use my light just to show you that. Not very much in the way of panel lines and things, but just lovely smooth finish. And then the upper wing halves, same again. Separate ailerons for what it's worth, and that same super nice smooth finish. And I think it's quite easy to see from this that students of aerodynamics will realise that with such a strongly tapered wing as this, the handling characteristics are going to be a bit tricksy at low speed. Transparencies then. There we go. Bit of distortion. Quite a large piece. If you can see through that, there's a bit of distortion there in those windscreens, but not to the point of being distracting, I don't think. And there's a good smooth clear finish, and then your two sort of entrance doors, car door style entry on this thing, moulded as one piece, so you can just mask the window off, not have to worry about a join. It's definitely the way I prefer that sort of thing to be done. In terms of extras then, apart from the plastic pieces, you do get, struggles manfully with Ziploc bags in the background, Photo-etch. Instrument panel, harness straps, some round things, don't know what they are. We'll look in the instructions in a minute. And some rudder pedals to dress up that interior should you wish to. And to go along with that instrument panel, there's one of the old school sort of dial films you can stick behind it, so you paint the instrument panel itself white, and then pop that piece of vinyl over the top of it, and then put the instrument panel over the top of that. On top of that then, die cut masking foil again. This is again like the last Dora Wings, it's that sort of semi-transparent vinyl type of mask, which is perfectly adequate for most things, but in the situation of the quite compound curved windows, you might find that isn't ideal. It may not stick down very well. So moving on then to the instructions, same style format as the Lockheed Vega, little A5 booklet with a nice picture on it. Now what I've also got in here is a whole sheet of step 4s, which are apparently identical to the step 4 which is already in the instructions. It's just got a number 13 added, which I'm going to assume is a colour, not sure. So don't know what that's all about, but they're in there. So construction wise, you've got your parts diagrams as ever, decals and everything. So everything that's in the box is replicated on this page, and then going into the instructions themselves, nice and clear, quite small you know, quite a lot going on in these small pictures. But that's a pretty satisfactory interior actually, and it does have quite large windows, so that's no bad thing. Got those extra parts going in for the sidewall detail. Putting everything together there. Building up the undercarriage bays, you've got a top and a side for each one, so it's not just a big empty hole in the nacelle. That piece of etch looks like it's some kind of airflow baffle type arrangement for the back of the engine. And the nacelles going on as half shells onto the wing. Balance weights included for the propeller. Engine mounts, tubular engine mounts there. So potentially not the strongest attachment of the engine in the world, but once it's enclosed in the rest of the panelling, it's fine, it's not going to go anywhere. Just probably not a good idea to wave this model about by holding the engines. And that's construction, so it's nothing terribly complicated. It isn't the simplest. There's a lot of small parts and a lot of very fine parts that would be very easy to break, but nothing terribly complicated. And then we're into the colour schemes. Now, as well as being quite a rare aircraft in extant form, it's quite hard to find photos of them as well, so it's difficult to be authoritative about what the colours and what have you are on these things. But there's some very attractive schemes nonetheless. So mostly these seem to have been finished in actual natural metal rather than silver paint. This is a very attractive one. Apparently it crashed in 1942, but it's got blue and yellow trim and the old United States flag on the rudder. This one's just got red trim and for some reason a black stripe down the belly. It breaks up the natural metal quite nicely. This is quite a typical one actually from the photographs I've seen. They mostly seem to finish roughly like this. It's got white nacelles, anti-glare panels and just basic national markings. This one's got a nice flag on it as well, and then you've got the, you know, super dull olive drab over neutral grey version as well. So some nice schemes there, a good cross section of the kind of schemes the aircraft wore in its short service life. And then onto the back, the colour chart. And as with other kits in this range, you've got Mr. Hobby, Tamiya, Ammo of MiG, Hataka and Live Colour. So there's an excellent range there of colours that you can use. I want to know what that 13 is all about. Oh, okay, yeah. The 13, the numbers in the yellow relate to the Photo-etch. So obviously this addendum is just to point out that these rudder pedals are actually from the Photo-etch fret. There we go. Mystery solved. So there you go. That is the Curtiss AT-9 Jeep from Dora Wings. Really, really attractive aircraft, I think. I'm ever so pleased that they brought this out in 48 because it's such a small thing that in 72nd it does lack impact a little bit. It's a very, very handsome aircraft. Could be an excellent foiling project, I think, looking at it. Maybe add some rivet detail and then cover it in foil. I think it'd look amazing. So very much looking forward to hopefully finding a few days to have a go at it. My schedule is so full of late, I don't know when I'll ever get onto half of these things, but hey ho. There's a fine line between being a modeller and being a model kit collector, I think. I seem to buy them at a rate that far exceeds my production, but I think we're all guilty of that. Anyway, there you go, another lovely, lovely kit from Dora Wings. This one will cost you $27.99. Again, I got this one from Hannah's and I paid $27.99 for it, and I think it's well worth that. It's excellent value, including the mast and Photo-etch as it does. Lovely decal sheet. Oh, we didn't look at the decals, did we? Let's do that quick. Silly woman. Here we go. Decals. As with others, very, very, very thin. A nice satin finish to them. The carrier film is trimmed down real tight to the actual logo. It's a close-up of the badges that silver one wears. I don't know where these are printed. Oh, actually it says on it, printed in Ukraine by Decograph. Really nice decals. Got your propeller logos there as well. Shouldn't give any issues. But again, these markings are all so simple that are actually it's a great candidate for having a go at spraying on markings if you've never done it before, because they're so simple, and because big serial numbers and letters like this, when they have the carrier film between them, as they do, and it's perfectly fine that they do, it can be quite noticeable, especially on a natural metal finish, whether you use foil or paint. So it's a great opportunity to have a go at making your own mask using this as a stencil and actually spraying your own markings on. Well, that was a bit of a digression, wasn't it? But there you go. So, another great kit from Dora Wings. Excellent value for money, in my opinion. One that I can highly recommend. It's a really interesting subject, quite out there, different from anything most of us will ever have seen on any model tables anywhere. Yeah, really interesting subject. So great work from Dora Wings there. And with that, I'll leave you and go and do the next one. So until I see you again, look after yourselves, look after each other, and Genesis out.